evening, hello, how are you this evening? And welcome very much to the Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy from felcraft.org, and tonight in episode 14 we are going to be jumping into our very first Rogue Arena run. In the last few episodes we've been focusing very much on some new arena and new player kind of topics, how to take someone else's deck list, get inspiration from it, but most importantly play it and play it safely. And then also taking a look at how to jump into an arena class. If, like a bunch of people, you want to get into the arena when you first get your key or when the game actually goes live, hopefully very soon, you want to start really grinding for some dust, playing through games, trying to stick those arena runs together, but you may not have played through every class in as much detail as you would have liked to have done. So, last episode, in episode 13, we did a Rogue Arena draft. Now, I have not played much as Rogue, if anything at all. I have played against a whole bunch of rogues with my priest in the ladder, so I'm a bit familiar from playing against a rogue, some of the things that come out, but in terms of drafting and actually playing a rogue in the arena, absolutely no idea. So we went through a few key easy concepts that we've been reiterating. Jump into my collection, draft slowly, make sure above anything else that you're taking your time and that you take some time to look at the class specific cards. While you're drafting, make sure that you take a sort of check halfway through and then maybe 3/4 of the way through to make sure that you might not have too many minions and might not have too many spells, and above all that you know your neutral minions and you're trying to keep a solid core to the deck. So let's get rid of this overlay, and without further ado let us dive straight into arena game number 1. And before we get going, we'll just have a quick review of the deck. And in the last episode we went through a few of the themes that we tried to draft to. Having taken a look at the Rogue's hero power, a few of the Rogue specific cards, we decided that quite obviously Rogues like to run combos. A lot of Rogue cards give an additional ability like Eviscerate if you've already played a card before you play the card with combo. So if I played something and then played Eviscerate, instead of dealing 2 damage, the combo will mean that I deal 4. And this theme goes through Rogue specific minions like the Defius Ringleader, a lot of the Rogue abilities. And that was one of our themes. We decided that we wanted a lot of cheap minions and cheap spells so that we could try and get a lot of these rogue combos off. The other thing we decided was that we wanted to try and control the board. So we grabbed a lot of minions that allowed for control. So things like Vanish as a spell and other such minions that would generally give us a bit of synergy. The final thing we did, we saw obviously the rogue power is to summon a weapon, so we decided we wanted to try and if possible to play off weapons. Now there's always some luck of the draw in arena, but we tried to find minions in a synergy kind of fashion. If we're going to be summoning a weapon with our rogue power, we may as well have some minions that benefit from you having a weapon or make you benefit if you have a weapon. So we looked and grabbed things, for example like the Blood Cell Raider, a fairly obvious one there, a bit of extra attack power if we have a weapon, and some other minions too that would generally go with the trying to play lots of cheap cards and getting the combos going. So the Questing Adventurer was an obvious example. We're going to be playing a lot of cards. If we get the Questing Adventurer down and we play some cards after him, we're going to be gaining some ability there as well. As we went through, we also had a little bit of a chat about mana curve and the balance between minions and abilities. So there's no really right or wrong answer. It very much depends on the kind of deck you're trying to play, the class that you're playing, the hero that you're playing, and also the luck of the draw in arena. But it's generally worth just keeping an eye on whether you have a huge bunch of mana at a particular point. So if I had loads and loads of 6 or 7 mana cost cards, then for a lot of the early game I wouldn't be able to play them, and I'd probably be sitting around twiddling my thumbs and clicking that end turn button while my opponent runs absolutely riot. If I have a lot of early mana cards, a lot of cheap 0, 1s and 2s, in the early game I'm going to be firing out cards all over the show. But if I haven't got control by the mid game, then late game, if I've got no bigger play cards, I've either gone too quick too soon, and as a result, if I haven't won or got control, maybe my opponent's going to get on top of me if he's got, or if she's got, some very hard-hitting big minions. Let's go! What will the first Rogue game bring? In my laddering recently, I've seen quite a few Rogue sort of control-y decks, and I've not quite gone to look at a deck list yet, but I think that might be a good next deck for me to have a look at, for us to share together and have a look when we get back into laddering constructed. And here we go.
I must protect the one.
Watch your back.
First turn, There's absolutely nothing I can be playing there. So I'm going to go and trade all 3 of those in because I want something a little bit cheaper. And I've come up with a Betrayal, and oof, that's not a great first turn. As you can see, I do have a lot of sort of 0 to about 3 mana cards, but that is a stinking first hand. Betrayal's not going to do anything for me here, and I'm going to summon my weapon. There's no harm in me attacking this guy for one. When you have a weapon, don't feel as though you always have to attack with it every single go, particularly depending on its durability and its attack. It can be very tempting, but sometimes you're going to want to spend that 2 mana early and save the attack power for later. Here is such an example. Raging Worgen. If I do 1 damage to him, he'll become enraged, and then he'll suddenly have 4 attack and Wind Fury. So I don't really want to do anything too rash to him. I've got a couple of options here. Attacking him for the 1 is just going to trigger his ability, so I don't really want to do that. Betrayal does absolutely nothing. I could get the Dread Corsair down, that would be a fairly solid option, and he would also take out the Raging Worgen in one go. And as you can see, the Dread Corsair costs 1 less mana per attack on my weapon, so it's another good example of some neutral minion solid spine synergy there. In terms of the couple of options, I could draw a card by putting down the Acolyte, but he would die and he would trigger the Worgen's ability. I'm going to play on the safe side and get out the Dread Corsair. Have that tank, stick up a wall, and Mr. Druid, the ball is very much in your camp. Taunton 2-2. He takes my tank and makes it a bigger tank. He can also attack me and buff himself quite substantially, and he has Wind Fury. A good move. Betrayal is not going to do much here, and I can't kill this guy in one go. If I attack him, I'll do 6 damage to myself. It's a little bit tricky. Really, I've only got one option here. Now, if Mr. Druid has any sense in this situation, which I'm sure he does, or she does, there's no real reason that he should actually attack that Acolyte. Okay. He wouldn't attack him with the minion anyway. Lets me draw 1 card at least. Oof, and this could be a very, very brutally quick and sharp game. I can assassinate and get that minion off the table. A silence will just put him back to... what did I put him back to? 3 and 2. Betrayal. There's no other minion I can actually take him out with, so in order to keep things going, I'm just going to have to assassinate. Expensive 5 mana, but that Raging Worgen, you can see a very cheap 3 mana card. In the right situation, in a draft game such as in the arena, it can be very, very painful. And the pain keeps coming. This could be a very rapid loss. 2 games in half an hour. Thankfully, I just really at this stage need to keep the table clear, so the Argent Commander is going to have to sacrifice his Divine Shield and his charge. I'm just keeping the table clear with 0 mana left. There's not huge amounts of options for me. I may even have to sprint, but with 9 health left, I just need to try and keep this table nice and clear, if at all possible.
My shield for Argon.
Lovely little card there in the Defender of Argus, 1-1 and Taunt, of course, brilliant battle cry. And then it goes quite nicely with that Ancient Watcher. He can't attack, but by using the Taunt, we've turned him into a tank. I have to get past that guy if I want to get something done. I do have some options to get past him, but you can see that I'm going to take a chunk of damage this go, so I really need to plan this move quite carefully. Betrayal, one of the control cards that I picked, now that can come into its own. I just need to weigh this go quite carefully. I can deal its damage to the minions next to it for 2 mana, so I can use the Ancient Watcher to take out the Defender of Argus for 2 mana. He still can't attack. I don't want to silence him. I could get rid of his taunt, but he could then also attack. So that is an easy way for me to get rid of 1 card. That will just sit there as a wall. I think that's a fairly essential option. It will, however, not let me get past the Ancient Watcher. Returning a minion to my hand could grab me a few other bits and bobs. 2 attack on a weapon. I'm going to Betrayal, which will get him off the table. I'm going to drop a Knife Juggler because that'll be quite handy. And then with my remaining turn, I think I'm going to grab another weapon. I wasn't going to attack anything that go. If he can't attack, I really need to stall some time and get my control in play. And the Spellbreaker, if I'd silenced him, yes, I would have got rid of the taunt, but he would have also been able to attack with that Ancient Watcher as well. 2 mana crystals or 3 cards, and he's gone for the 3 cards. Really grabbing some options there. I was toying with that Shadow Step, and quite fairly he gets rid of that Argent Commander. He will have some options to play there. Some of them might not be charge, but Druid does have a few nasty tools in its toolbox. I can do A damage, but there's nothing that's going to let me remove that card. I may have to take a risk and sprint. Sap gives me some options. Assassinate and Shattered Sun Cleric. Excellent. So if I can stay alive for one more go, and he doesn't take me out this turn, then I might have a chance. You can see I've got some good control options there. I can get minions back in his hand, I can destroy an enemy minion, and I can just vanish. Take all minions back to their hand. And that might be the option I have to go with. Yes, you can see that that's a real killer hand he's got there. Now, assessing my options with 9 mana, I'm really toying towards Vanish just to reset the field. But let's see if there's anything smarter I can do. I can remove his 1 minion. I can send 1 back to his hand. That's 2 minions. It doesn't look as though I'm certainly not going to be able to take out all of his minions in one go. A Vanish may be the best ploy, but for 2, 5, 1, 3, he can actually play nigh on all of those. Nigh on all of those. You can replay those 3 next go. So it will save me a turn for 6 mana, but then what do I do with the remaining 3? Silence won't do much for me. I can drop another minion and try and get a combo set up. I've still got Assassinate in my hand. Let's get all that off the table. I'm going to go for a Questing Adventurer. This is really a backs against the wall style play. But on the bright side, whether we win or lose, our first rogue game, a Battle Cry, and that removes my Questing Adventurer with his destroy a random minion with 2 or less attack.
We must cleanse the
He actually gets a Squire in his hand. Totally forgot about that. And another nasty little buff. What can we do here? I'm going to have to Assassinate probably to get that off the table. But do remember he's got some other nasty cards in his hand. We know he's got that Ancient Watcher, but he can't make it a tank again. Or this is again where our lovely Betrayal comes into play. I can use Betrayal to wipe out these 2. I think I'm going to go for that. Gets rid of 1. I probably may have had a better play there. If I'd used the Squire, he would have done the damage to both. Yeah, that probably would have been a little bit of a better play. Sap will force him to make a replay, and I can still Assassinate. Or I can just destroy it straight off, but I think just getting rid of it would probably be the better option. And there's also a better play I could have had where I would actually drop that Flare-Shooting Ghoul before doing all of this. I'm going to try to get a little bit of pressure on. Well, at the moment we can see that although some of the concepts of this Draft Arena deck are coming out, I am in trouble, I would say is the polite thing to say. 6 health left to go. I may just be delaying the inevitable. All of this control has come out very late. Very late indeed. And that Panther, it's going to be very hard for me to protect against. He's got a direct attack on me there. Unless I can take 3 of these minions out, I'm going to be in trouble. Right, the SI-7 agent can do 2 damage. That gets rid of 1 minion. And I'd probably get rid of one of those 3 attacks. A Knife Juggler. Ooh, I can trade a minion. There's a chance I can get most of this off the table. But I need to be quite careful with the order. So I get a Flesh-Eating Ghoul on the table. He'll do some attack. I need to get the 4 off somehow. 2 damage through the combo.
Put this apple on your head. We must cleanse the Sunwell.
This guy's toast.
A little bit of concentration here, guys. Give me 2 secs. Oh, I got lucky with that one. Now I actually have one nice little combo left to play. I can't drop that ghoul, which I was thinking of doing, but I can return him to my hand, and then I can replay him.
This guy's toast.
Turn to get ready.
Right, sorry for the silence there, but I just had to focus a bit. So you would have seen that there may have been a slight misplay in my order there, but what I was trying to do was get down Knife Juggler, use him to do the damage, Shadow Stepped so I could replay my SI-7 agent to do another 2 combo damage. This is all really delaying the inevitable. It's a really, really hard fought game, and it may all be for nothing. Right, now I've got some time to think again. I can get rid of the taunt on this Lord of the Arena. I've still got this Spellbreaker. The Ancient Watcher can't attack me. I can't kill him with my hero. I can't take him out easily. I can stop him from attacking for 1 turn. I'm just going to have to do that. Force him to not attack for a turn. And see if I can get on the offensive. Now, I can silence a minion, sure. I may just need some things with bigger attack on the table. I don't want to silence him, my own minion, as it were. And with that, I can either play 2 of those, I can play both of those or 1 of those. So whenever a minion dies, gains 1 attack, if he ever gets anything painful out. I think I'm going to go for...
Hey, catch! Push forward. Choose soon.
Hey, lights out.
All this guy needs to do is do 4, and he can do 1 to me every turn. Ouch! That's a painful move. Mind control tech. I've got 4 more minions. If you see one of those in the draft, it's generally easy. And a silence on my Tauren Warrior. And now he's allowed him to attack. Well played. So, you see that final nice little combo. He silenced his own Ancient Watcher, and then he removed the can't attack. He could have just... Oh, no, that's true. So he's now got another minion to attack with. He had to take out my tank. I thought he would just silence the tank. But... as all of those have just been played, he couldn't attack me directly. Nope, I made a miscalculation there. These things happen, but it's better to misread your opponent while they're playing rather than mess up a little. Oh, 5 damage. And that error of effect causing pain across the board. 2 damage to all minions. It did buff up my ghoul, but considering he only needs to do 4 damage, and that is a good game. There is, I don't believe, anything I can do to stop him doing 4 damage next turn. There's no charge, no nothing. I'm going to say, well played to you, sir.
Well played.
Assassin's Blade! 12 out of 20 rogue cards unlocked. And yep, that was level 2. You saw that right. Okay, so that first game at least gave us a little introduction to Rogue, and particularly Rogue in Arena. Now obviously when you see a Rogue, when you're laddering or when you're playing with constructed decks, it'll be a little bit different, as it always is. Do remember that these kind of arena concepts that we're going through are designed to make not the best of a bad lot, but Draft Arena is a very different game mode to laddering in constructed, because for one, you can have more than two of any particular card in the arena, so you will see people stacking very powerful cards if they get lucky and those cards happen to come up. And in terms of taking a look at our deck and seeing what our problems are in that game, we had a lot of high cost cards early in the game, and then you saw in the mid game we suddenly had a flurry of combinations. We had a flurry of cheap cards we could play. We were zapping control around all over the place, but we didn't get those early game cards to actually sort of keep our opponent in check or keep pace with our opponent. So we were always playing catch up. And by playing catch up, we were always trying to remove various minions from the table, and by that stage it was getting very, very tough. Again, early in this game, you can see that the problem, these early game minions we don't appear to be getting. I like Betrayal, I'm going to keep that. Deadly Poison I will also keep. Spellbreaker is probably just a bit too late. There could have been a reasonable argument for trading all of those cards in and grabbing some new cards. Let's go with this and see how it goes to start with. Again, I'm playing first as well. So my initial observation from my not having played Rogue, maybe I need a few more early game minions to keep some pressure, trade the minions early game. Although I do have a lot of cheap spells, if I don't get them out, it's not helping me too much. I'm not going to attack straight up and keep that extra durability in hand, see what happens on this occasion. Break the Stormwind glass! Turn off the Stormwind lights! Sorry that happened. Why are you sorry? Why are you sorry for your Tauren warrior? Be sorry if you like. I could kill him in one go. Maybe I shall. Maybe I shall with my deadly poison.
Here we go.
Lupidol is a very courteous player. Now I could grab another weapon. It may have been an error. I don't see why it's an error. Remember, if you get particularly annoyed, you can squelch your opponent's emotes. Lupidol is just showing a little bit of character this evening. This guy loves his emotes. Now, when you play a warrior, that warrior-specific Frothing Berserker, if he takes damage, he gains an attack. He's got 4 health. So, I can't remember the precise warrior card, but there's one which does damage and adds attack. So if you use that card, do damage and add attack, he then, with his ability, takes damage and has more attack. There is pain to be had there. I think my real option in this situation is to summon a Draggling Mechanic. Zap. Zap.
Here we go.
Now you may see here that I'm taking a reasonable amount. At the moment I'm sponging damage onto the rogue. Now when you play a class with a weapon, it's just having that balance. You're going to want to attack with your hero and the weapon, and you will take some damage, but if you can keep the right or the wrong cards off the table, then sometimes it can be worth it. As to whether it's worth it or not, naturally in the late game, if you're on low health, you're not going to be attacking with your hero quite so much if you're a weapon wielding class. In the early game, you can see here I've got 3 minions on the table, he's got none. I've taken out a couple of nasty minions there, the Frothing Berserker. So that kind of felt worth it in terms of keeping the table clear.
Bring me steel. Sorry that
Okay, so we can see a warrior combo. He has no weapon, so the Bloodsoul Roader doesn't help, but the Master Swordsmith will just keep on buffing minions. What can I do here? An enemy minion deals its damage to the minions next to it. Well, I think there's an obvious combo there that we can do. I don't really want to spend 5 mana to get rid of one of those two, but what I can do is assassinate the other. Bosh. There may have been a better combo there. I could have used him to do 1 and then done 2 damage to that minion, and then everything would have been good. On this occasion, I can still remove one of those minions from play. Me and Mr. Bitey. And we have one bona fide emote spammer here, ladies and gentlemen. So again, a little expensive in terms of throwing out some of those abilities, but that backstab for 0 mana, it would have set up a combo. Goodbye weapon. And he can destroy another one of my weapons.
I will be your death.
Well, if you're gonna be like that, I'm gonna be like that. Assassinate. I still want to keep those powerful minions. Vanish. I just don't need right now. The Blood Cell Raider I can drop. But I think that Ancient Brewmaster is with 5-4 health. I'm fortunate that I picked my Argent Commander. I can pick him off, get rid of him.
Sorry about that.
And if someone's going to spam me with a few mates, then why not get them back with a few mates? He knows a few. He certainly likes greeting me, or she certainly likes greeting me, that's for sure. Just logging into Twitter, and we've got a little bit of combo there. Shattered Sun Cleric giving me a friendly minion +1/+1 and 3/3/2. It's never a bad card to have, particularly if you're dropping a bunch of minions in play. This is a good example, this game, as opposed to last, of how the theme of the deck's actually working. By no means is it perfect, but I got a lot of early minions open. I've managed to keep some control. What I now need to work out is how I can remove what I want to remove off the table. Now, ideally I keep the Knife Juggler playing because he's doing lots of damage for me whenever I summon a minion. I'm going to... I need a combo. I need to play a card first, so I'm going to go for the Blood Cell Raider. In fact, no. Better combo. First weapon. Second Blood Cell Raider, so I get one extra attack on the Blood Cell Raider. Third... Oh, how perfect. That was lucky that I got the damage from my gnome onto him, but then my combo gets rid of the tank. Finally, I'm going to attack with my 2/4 minion because I can sponge it and just keep him alive, and then that lets me do a final amount of damage with my 2 remaining minions, and I can even attack with my hero. Right, let's review that because I was a little bit rushed in the end, but my choice was to get the weapon down first. Playing the Blood Cell Raider gave me the Battle Cry benefit, so I got an extra 1 attack. It's not loads, but better than nothing. I then played cards, and my Knife Juggler did another damage. I could then activate the combo on the SI7 agent, and I was fortunate that I could then pick off that remaining tank. Finally, having got stuff off the table, I could then attack and do damage to the hero. While I've been talking, Sunwalker, a 6/4/5, high mana cost for the health and attack stats, but you have Taunt and Divine Shield, so it's a very solid tank there. And finally, the Blood Cell Corsair got rid of my weapon again. And this is where I have a few options. I could either Betrayal to get rid of the Divine Shield, and then that opens him up for attack. But really, I have enough damage on the table that if I can negate the Sunwalker, then I can just damage him and win. So I'm going to assassinate that minion. And that is why it was worth hanging on to assassinate. You choose death! Good game! And that gives us our first rogue win, which is fantastic. Excellent, so that actually brings us up to about half an hour. I know a bunch of people on YouTube do full arena runs on Hearthstone. I want to do one of those pretty soon. I've been trying to keep to this half an hour format to start with, just so I can try and do 4 or 5 nights a week. That's my main goal, to try and get this nice and frequent for all you guys and girls. So thank you very much for that half hour. In that episode we took our rogue arena deck that we'd run through a few basic deck building concepts in the arena in episode 13, and we then took that deck and we put it into practice. We lost one, and we saw how if we didn't get our early game low mana cards, low mana combo cards of minions out, we could really struggle in the early game. And even though a lot of our combos came out mid game in game 1, we were really playing catch up. In that last game we saw how when we got some of our earlier minions out and our earlier control cards out, we were actually able to keep control, keep the deck clear, and then push through with minions in this mid to late game phase. So thank you very much for tuning in. just to sign off, the usual places where if you like this video, you can find us. We stream live on Twitch TV. We're trying to do 4 or 5 nights a week, and you can find us on twitch.tv/failcraftcast. So for those of you who can see tuning in, thank you very much for tuning in. Do, if you can, sign into Twitch in future. You can sign up for a free account. If you like the live streams, you can jump straight in. You can subscribe by email so you can really see whenever we're going to be going online. You can get a mail when we go live and get involved that way. Twitter, we've been on Twitter quite a bunch, and thank you to all of you people we've chatted to through Twitter, people who've subscribed to the YouTube, given us some feedback on the vids. Brilliant to chat to you all as well, and that is twitter.com/failcraftcasts. And last but not least, YouTube, the wonder that is YouTube. We're on YouTube. Been doing a lot of Hearthstone recently, but we're also going to get back into League of Legends and StarCraft, games we love, maybe some Minecraft soon, and all of these fantastic games that we just love playing, looking at from either a new perspective, maybe getting into some deeper concepts and sharing with you. Final ask, we really love to have feedback. If you think it's stuff that we can do better, please let us know. Constructive criticism is brilliant. You can say that it's crap, that's absolutely fine, but tell us how we can improve it, different things we could do, anything that would make it better or would make it something that you want to watch, or if you absolutely love it, again, we'd love to know. Share it with your friends, and again, if you like it but think it could be better, we really love to hear ideas, content you'd like to see more of, things that you think are good, new topics you'd like us to cover, maybe new games you'd like us to play and cover, and all that kind of thing as well. Thank you very much. That's been this evening's episode, and we'll see you very soon. Next episode, we will do one of two things, depending on what people fancy. We'll either continue with this Rogue Arena run. I'm quite enjoying Rogue. I've seen a bunch of it in laddering recently as I've been trying to claw my way up the ladder to Legend mode, and a lot of Rogue decks now coming in, so I quite enjoy Rogue and getting under the skin of it, because it takes one to know one, and knowing your enemy in many games is always very handy. Or we will go back to laddering with our Priest and actually talk through a few more concepts. As to a few videos ago we talked about using deck lists and how you can take inspiration from someone else's deck list, copy it if you can as fully as possible. Our Priest is a slightly tweaked copied deck list, and then really seeing that in practice, and then also maybe really getting under the skin of the Priest class as well. So thank you very much for tuning in this evening. If you're watching, thank you. Would love to hear from you after the episode. Have a fantastic evening, and we will catch